So the Eagles are talking to the Carolina Panthers about what it would take to land Brian Burns. And apparently it's a lot. But don't worry, because Howie Roseman is negotiating. And by the time it's all said and done, it'll be Carolina Panthers giving us picks. Dallas still stinks. Yo, by the way, King Dingbat here, and hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're hanging in there. So the Eagles have finally called the Carolina Panthers about Brian Burns, and things are underway. Things are being negotiated. I believe it. I really think the Eagles are going to do everything they can to land this player, and we need him. Now, before we get into it, if you're new to the channel and you like the content, make sure you hit that like button. More importantly, make sure you subscribe for daily Eagles content, NFL content. You don't want to miss it. And if you've been subscribed for a while, just double check, double moonwalk check, and make sure you're still subscribed. Now, the fact that the Eagles are talking to the Carolina Panthers about Brian Burns is a huge deal. It is a big deal, and it was something that I really wanted to talk to you guys about today. I was planning on bringing this up during the Philly Shakedown podcast. That's why I didn't put a video out earlier about it, because I really wanted to talk about it, but unfortunately, Joey couldn't do the Shakedown tonight, so I figured I'd come on here and I would make a video and talk about it with you guys, because I got to get it out. I'm sitting there driving around town talking to my wife and go, the Eagles are talking to Carolina about Brian Burns, and this is what they want. And she's like, what? Who? Are you talking to me? She's like, well, who's Brian Burns? What is these Carolina Panthers you speak of? She doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about. So I have to come and talk to you peoples, my therapists, All right, so it looks like the Eagles are finally talking to the Carolina Panthers about Brian Burns. According to Dov Kleeman, don't know him, but he says the Pound Chiefs, Pound Eagles, and Pound Rams have called the Pound Panthers, not hashtag, about top pass rusher Brian Burns. Did I say Brian Adams? I'm sorry. I had to check. I thought I said Brian Adams instead of Brian Burns. I must have heard a song on the radio or something. Anyways, all right, so the Chiefs, Eagles, and Rams have called the Panthers about top pass rusher Brian Burns, according to ESPN. An NFL general manager said the minimum for Burns is 2 first-round picks. Burns has 29.5 career sacks in 4 seasons. Now, your first initial reaction when hearing that is going to be, holy crap, Philly, they want 2 first-round picks for Brian Burns. That's too much. That's a hell of a lot. And I got to say this, you're absolutely right. I'm not giving up 2 first-round picks for Brian Burns. I love him. I like him. But I'm not giving that up because that New Orleans pick essentially is going to be a top 5 pick. So I'm not doing it, okay? But here's the thing that people have to remember. Brian, the request for 2 first-round picks, I don't look at as like, that's the price, like it or not, pay it or not, whatever you want, but that's what we're going to get. I don't look at it like that. I look at it like that is a starting point of negotiations. They're starting their price at 2 first-round picks. Now it's the job of Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles to come in and negotiate. And that's what you have to do. You have to negotiate with teams, okay? Listen, Brian Burns is going to be in the last year of his contract next year. He's got 1 more year after this year on his deal, okay? It's a rookie deal. He was a first-round pick, I think 16th overall. He's going to make $16 million next year in the last year of his deal. So Carolina has 2 choices. One, they can trade him now and get a lot for him, or they're going to have to pay him $16 million, a team that is rebuilding. Now, here's why the Carolina Panthers may look to trade him. You may say, well, he's so young, why would they trade him when they're going to rebuild? Well, you're going to have new coaches come in. You got a team that essentially is got to rebuild from scratch. Now, when they're doing that, in order to keep Brian Burns long term, they're going to have to sign him to an extension. So they're going to have to pay him a lot of money. Do they really want to pay him big time money when he is going to be there the years that they're rebuilding. Do they want to do that? Or do they want to get a lot for him right now and then use those picks and bring in players all kind of at the same time that they can build around? To me, that is the most likely scenario. I think Brian Burns is at least worth a first-round pick. He's at least worth a first-round pick, okay? So we can establish that. I would say mid-first-round pick, he's at least worth, okay? So the Eagles have one pick in which I think they can look to trade him. I think that Philadelphia Eagles pick, their own first-round pick, is a pick that they should use to trade for Brian Burns. You can't use the New Orleans pick. I'm sorry, you can't do it. What if that pick is like the third pick overall, fourth pick overall? What if it's a second pick overall? Do you know how valuable that is? Especially if you're in a situation where Will Anderson Jr. is going to fall to you on the draft board. So you can't give that New Orleans pick up. You have to keep it. However, you can give up your first-round pick, okay? I think that pick is going to be somewhere in the 20s, if we're lucky in the 30s, all right? But that's going to be a high pick. It's not going to be enough. So what do you do next, okay? That's the question. And it first starts with this. Is Jalen Hurts the guy? Do the Eagles believe he's the guy? If the Eagles believe he's the guy and that they found their quarterback, that then frees up more draft capital. So I would say this. You give a first-round pick, your own first-round pick this year, right? You can do two things. You can give a second-round pick also, include like maybe maybe throw in like a third, so it's like a first and a third this year in this upcoming draft form. And if you want to do it and you don't mind giving up the other pick, you give up a 2023 first and a 2024 first. That would be the only way I would do it. But essentially, I probably wouldn't even do that. What I would rather do is do like a first and a third this year, and then maybe either throw in a player or throw in another pick. So like a first, a third in 2023, and then like another third or fourth in 2024. Something like that, The great thing for the Eagles is this. They have the best negotiator in the NFL. The one thing that you could always say with Howie, even the people who've had problems with him, which is me, even those who have problems with him have always said one thing about Howie Roseman. He's really, really good at trades. He's really, really good at negotiating. So I'm sure Howie Roseman's sitting there with his big pencil protector and his Napoleon hat. He's calculating the calculations of cornbread. There ain't no way he's going to have to give up 2 first-round picks. He will work circles around the Carolina Panthers. By the time the whole thing's over, they'll be giving us draft picks. Oh, wait. So we're giving a third-round pick and you're getting Brian Burns? How did we do this? How did Howie Roseman negotiate that? It's Howie vision, baby. We're all just living in it, And the truth is, I trust Howie to get the job done if he really wants him. If the Eagles deem that Brian Burns would make a huge difference, they're going to get him. They're going to get him. That's going to be the question. And listen, you have to bring Brian Burns in. And if the Eagles do, you then have to give him an extension. And what you got to do is you're going to have to sign him to 4 or 5 year extension. And then take that $16 million next year, somehow work it out so it fits into your salary cap. The Eagles, they can do that, okay? They could give up front money. Howie Roseman's very good at negotiating contracts, dealing with the cap, and then making trades. So all the things that it would take to get Brian Burns are all the things that Howie Roseman does really, really well. So I trust him to get the job done if they deem Brian Burns as a guy they want. Now, there is competition, right? The Chiefs are looking into getting him. The Rams are looking into getting him. And then who else? There may be another team. Who knows who else may say, you know what, we could use him. I don't know if a team like Tampa, I don't know if they would trade within the division, but I don't know if there's another team out there. But the Eagles, you're 6-0. You probably not going to lose until at least at the earliest you're 10-0. You're probably going to have home field throughout the playoffs. I don't know what other time to go all in than now. than now. I'm not saying mortgage your future. You have to balance it. I say go all in. I don't mean give every first round pick you have in the next few years away for the guy. I don't think that. But I do think that you can give away more draft picks than normal. You can't give away that New Orleans Saints pick. I'm telling you, that pick has to stay. I want to find a way to keep Bradbury. I want to keep Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. There's a lot of guys I want to keep, and then there's guys I got to let go. I think guys like Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, those guys may have to go. They may have to go. And then you bring back guys like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, James Bradbury. If you could bring Brian Burns in, that would instantly replace one of those guys that you lose on the defensive line. But I think, to me, when you're 6-0, you have to go and be aggressive. Howie Roseman is always successful by being aggressive. You got to be aggressive in this situation. Brian Burns is my number one guy that I want out of anybody right now who's up for trade. There's nobody I would want more than Brian Burns right now. So Carolina wants 2 first-round picks, right? They want 2 first-round picks. That is a starting point in negotiations. And I'm sure the Eagles are saying, we're willing to give you a first-round pick, 1 first-round pick, right? So obviously, the easy thing to do is to meet in the middle. How about a first and a fourth for Brian Burns? We'll give you a first and a fourth for Brian Burns. Now, maybe Carolina says, no, that's not enough. All right, how about a first, a fourth, and like a third-round pick next year? Something like that. I think that's a fair deal for both teams, and I could see Carolina negotiating to something like that. Listen, this is a team that needs picks. You would be giving them a first-round pick. It's going to be a late first-round pick, but it's a first-round pick nonetheless. And if the Eagles really want to get this done, 2023 first, or 2024 first, and I'm sure that gets it done. That's a little too much for me, though. I think you should be able to do it without giving up that extra first. How about a first this year and a second this year? I would do a first and a second, or a first this year and a second next year. There's so many ways that Howie Roseman and the Eagles can make this work. The only thing that you really have to worry about in terms of paying a lot is the bidding war. What are the Chiefs going to offer? What are the Rams going to offer? What are these other teams going to offer that may up the price for the Eagles? I don't know, but I know this. You're 6-0. You're 6-0. You've got to take a shot and try to get this team to the Super Bowl. And if you have a chance to get a guy like Brian Burns, you're not just getting him for this year. You're getting him for long term. Besides Will Anderson, maybe there's a few other guys. But, who's coming out that we know will be as productive as 29.5 career sacks in 4 seasons? Who do we know for sure is going to do that? We know Brian Burns did it. We know what he can do. He's already played in the NFL. So, to me, you're going to have to pay a little bit. You pay it. But at least Howie Roseman's the guy negotiating it. I would not give up 2 first-round picks, though. I think that's too much. If 2 firsts is too much. The New Orleans pick, it's off the table. A first and a second I would do. First this year, a second next year, something like that, I would do. A second this year, first next year, I would do. But I would try at all costs to not give up 2 first-round picks. Now, at the end of the day, if I have to do a 2 first-round pick, I don't know. I don't know if I could do it. I'm just being honest. I don't know if I could do that. But I definitely think that the 2 first-round picks are the starting point in negotiations for Carolina. Don't think it will cost the Eagles that much, but I do think it will cost more than 1 first-round pick. So they're going to have to meet in the middle. But the guy negotiating for us, I trust a lot more than the guy negotiating for them. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. Remember, it's Howie Vision. We're all just living in it. So just a quick reminder, I will be streaming the Cowboys-Lions game tomorrow in its entirety. We'll also be taking a look at the Giants-Jags game because that's going to be interesting as well. And also the Phillies will be playing during those games and while they're going on. So I don't know if I might bring in another TV or something to have that on at the same time. But we'll be keeping you guys updated on that. And we'll see. Hopefully the Phillies could win tonight. They're down 1 run. I might go ahead and stream that in a little bit after I edit this. We'll see what time it is then, and we'll figure it out. With that said, Denzel Washington out.